Hi, my name is Angela Porosyan, and I'm going to show you how I wrote this code for this game. Let me show you the game. So as you can see, you have this guy who's moving around, and then if anything hits him, it says you're dead. It comes back to it, but if it passes through the pumpkins, see, I lost. If it passes through the pumpkins and goes out of the canvas, it says, yeah, you win. So how did we write this? First of all, I put a title up here. It's called Spooky Season because it's October and Halloween's approaching. And then I created a canvas over here and I gave it an ID so that I could refer to it later. I opened the script tag so that we can use JavaScript as the language. And then I created a constant named canvas, which gets me a referral to the canvas that I created. So you do document.getElement by ID, and we put the ID here, and it is going to start referring to the canvas now. Then we have to get the tools to be able to draw on the canvas, which we do by this. We do canvas.getContext 2D. And then we set the width and the height. And then this is a helper function that we're going to use later on. It gives you a random number. Then I created 3 images. The first image is the background that we're going to use for the game, and then I set an image for the character that we actually move around, and then the bad guys. The good guy here was Pikachu, and then the bad guys were the pumpkins that were flying around in the game, as you saw. Now here, we create an array of the bad guys. In the array there are going to be a number of objects that describe the bad guys, the pumpkins in our case, and then we're going to use it to print the bad guys. And then this function right here creates those bad guys and puts them in this array, as we can see here. And then we give it a canvas width and canvas height as arguments so that it doesn't go out of the canvas. They don't get born out of the canvas. And then count here is how many bad guys you wanted to create. Right here, I made this function with recursion. So as you can see, I'm calling the function from inside of the function, and it's going to loop around, and the count is going to decrease by 1, so it's going to create as many bad guys as I'm going to tell it. So here we set that the bad guy's image, which is the pumpkin that I referred to, and then x and y are going to be random numbers inside of the canvas that are going to be the coordinates for the bad guys. And then we give it width and height to define the dimensions. And then deltas are by how much the pumpkins are going to move. And then we created a function that draws the pumpkins, and then an update function that actually moves the pumpkins. This is how they actually move. Right here, as you can see, we actually increase the x by delta. And then right here, we make sure that the pumpkins do not get out of the canvas. So we say that if the x is bigger than or equal to the canvas width minus the width of this guy, or this x is less than 0, meaning it goes out of the left side or the right side of the canvas, then set the delta to a minus number so it starts moving the other way. And then we did the same for the y coordinate so that the things don't get out of the canvas. And then here is how we actually define where our hero dies. If the pumpkins hit the hero, the hero dies. Basically what we tell it is if the x and y coordinates of the hero and the bad guys match, then you have to alert that you died. And then it's going to set the x and y coordinates of the hero to the initial place that it was, and then it's going to set the deltas to 0 so that the hero stops moving. And then this is how we make it into a recursive function. We call this function from inside of it, as you can see here. And then we decrease the count by 1 so that if we tell it to make 5 bad guys, it's going to come here and it's going to set and it's going to create one bad guy inside of this array, and then it's going to come to the end, and the count of 5 is going to decrease to 4, so it's going to go through it again until it becomes 0, and it's going to just return the bad guy array, as you can see here. And then we create 5 bad guys by calling this function. And then we have a global draw and update function, which actually draws the bad guys, and then an update function that updates the bad guys. So basically draws them and lets them move around the canvas. Here, as you can see, the pumpkins hit the wall and then bounce back because their y delta becomes minus, and then when they hit the right wall, their x becomes with a minus, so they start moving the other direction. Now, okay, here we created an object that contains all the objects that we created, which is the hero and then the bad guys array. We also give the hero an x and y, the delta, and then the image, and then it has a draw function which actually draws the hero, and then an update function that increases the x and y by the delta. Now here, we set the controls. We know that the left and up keys, these are the code numbers for the keys that we're going to press. We add an add event listener with the condition key down, so that if we press the keys, it's going to implement this function. So if if we press the right key, the delta is going to become equal to 5. So basically it's going to move to the right by 5. Inside of here, we say that if the hero's x becomes bigger than the canvas width, basically if it gets out of the canvas, it's going to do this. If the hero's x becomes bigger than the canvas width, it's going to alert, yay, you win. In here, we can do that by just walking outside of the canvas. It's going to alert, yay, you win. And then, when we win, it's going to reset the coordinates of our hero again, so that it comes back to where it was when it started. Here, if we press the left key, it's going to the delta is going to go -5, so it's going to go to the left. If we press down key, it's going to go down, and then if we press the up key, it's going to go up. This is a function that tells the computer that if we press the key, so that the key is down, it does these. And then we do the same for key up, meaning when we take our finger off the key, it's going to do this. It's going to set the deltas to 0 so that the hero stops moving. Okay, we come here and then we create a loop function that does this. It draws the background, and then it draws the hero, and it updates the hero by the deltas, so you can move the hero. And then these draw and update functions are global functions that basically create the pumpkins, the bad guys, and then the update function is moves the bad guys. And request animation frame puts this loop inside of a loop so that it always runs. And then we call loop so that the animation always runs. And basically that's it. Thank you for watching and hope you enjoy my game.